Our next page is the past medical history page. So past medical history page will start off with reviewed nursing notes, and this will have the backwards parentheses over here. These are called soft stops, so these are not required for documentation. It will let you lock or sign your chart without documenting all of these, unlike the asterisks, but they are highly recommended for documentation, and that's why they have the backwards parentheses. For the most part, they're things that you would click on for most of your patients, like reviewed nursing notes or reviewed vital signs, and just a quick yes answer. So in the past medical history page, things that import into this page versus things that do not. So when you see a patient for the first time and this patient has never been seen in the ER before, the only things that you'll really have in there are home medications, allergies, and this first line of smoking status, and these will be in there if the nurses document them prior to you seeing the patient or going into the chart. So these will automatically import from the nurse's notes, otherwise it'll be completely blank. Now the reason this one has a few other things in here, like the past medical history and some past surgical history and social history, is because this patient was seen by other providers, or other providers have opened notes on them. So if this patient was previously seen and other providers did put all this information in, it will carry over into your chart and future charts. And likewise, anything that you document in these sections will carry over into the next chart next time this patient is seen in the ER. So the more we document in these sections, the more we can essentially build our database and share the information with other providers. That way you can just review what they reported last time and change it or add on to it if applicable. So just going through this list from top to bottom. So past medical history will have these radio buttons, and anything clicked here will be imported into the next note automatically. Anything above these double lines are more common to be clicked on versus things towards the bottom that might not be clicked on as much for all patients. And it's not a very big list, so if you do have any additional family or any additional medical history that you wanted to put for this patient, there's this additional medical history box under the radio buttons that we had in the first menu. Anything typed into here does not carry over into the next chart, so if you type something into this past medical history in the next provider, or you see this patient again tomorrow, none of that will show up. The only things that will show up are the things that were clicked into the past medical history button. Home medications and allergies will show up here, and you can review them. You can also click update to add in anything. The nurses will input this for the most part at the initial assessment and evaluation. But if you do need to change anything, or you do need to edit, update allergies, and you would just type in a new one or delete one of them or edit one of them and file to get it back into there. And this will update in everybody's chart. Past surgical history, same as medical history. It'll have the common ones up top and more towards the bottom, and then the additional surgical history box on the bottom over here. And then past family history is for the most part documented by the nurses, and you can always update it as well. So in the update button, there is a reviewed box up here that will need to be clicked to address that you reviewed the past medical history or past family history that was inputted by the nurses. And if you'd like to add in more family history that you obtained on your own, then you would click on the add relation, choose the relation of the family member, and click OK, and then add condition and type in the condition. Click OK, and this will add it into the box over here.
Well, one other thing in terms of the family history that they're really wanting us to key on and for meaningful use is actually, if you go back to the update, is we also need to be putting on onset of age. So if it was cancer or coronary disease or whatever it is, we need to also not only put in that, brother or sister, diabetes or whatever it is, or colon cancer, we also need to put in, and I believe it gives a range of like 5 to 10 years or something like that. So if you click, let's just say cancer for the father, then what they're wanting us to do is saying, again, was this early cancer, was this late cancer? So 40 to 50, let's just say, for example. So they're actually, for meaningful use, they're wanting us to put the relationship, and it has to be a first degree, so it can be a mother, father, brother, sister, cousin, niece, nephew, and then daughter, son, and then specifically when that onset was for that particular condition, if you will, or medical problem. They need both the onset as well as the relationship to that person.
Now, so I'll ask you a question. So technically and ideally, this would be filled out by the nurse, correct?
Right.
Now, obviously, it's still your job to make sure that that information is in the chart by the time it's supposed to be signed, and you need to check that box in the right upper corner that says, well, I reviewed it, and therefore that meets criteria for the meaningful use, that information was obtained, and you are aware of that information. My other question is, you mentioned that if the nurse is still in the process of doing the chart or working on the chart, some of this information might not be there. If during the whole course of the visit that information is done, will it automatically update into your chart?
Not that I'm aware of personally. I don't think it, unless you actually click on it itself, like the update button, I don't think it updates automatically. I'm not aware of that.
So the thing we just need to make sure is that by the time you're ready to sign your chart, that information is in the chart. And hopefully that could be that initially, if the nurse's note isn't finished, because you signed up at the same time to start documenting, that you go back through at the end, update it to make sure that information is not or is hopefully in there. And if it's not, then that's obviously, again, your responsibility to ensure that all that information's in there.
All right. Next section is the smoking status. From the nursing note is the first one. So what the nurses put in will go in over here. Otherwise, what the providers put in previously or what you want to document will be on the second line. And the first 3 or so is what is normally documented, and you could just click through them and deny or report smoking and specify how much they smoke.
And like we talked about earlier, with regards to the the summary button and that second page where that social history was, you can actually just go to review at the bottom, and again go to the nursing assessments and get that. There should be a social history up on there, or the rapid initial assessment or something of that nature. Again, with the test patient, it's a little bit difficult, but you should be able to see their social history by just scrolling through this and saying, do they drink, use drugs, etc., without actually getting out of the note, going back in, and then returning to your document and then saying, oh yeah, they smoke, or no, they don't smoke, but they drink, or whatever it is. So we're not jumping in and out of a chart.
Yeah, quick way to just get into the nursing note without saving and getting out to the tracker and getting back in.
And so that would probably be one of the ways, if that nursing note did not automatically update from that family social history, that information actually still would be in the chart. It'd be under that review button. And if it did not update automatically, you could go to the review and then look at that information and then input it yourself into that necessary area. The last couple of things I'll add about this, just regarding the social history and all these things. So this is another element that's needed for documentation. For documentation, you need 2 of these 3 areas to be able to, again, assuming that this has been done, bill for a level 5 chart. Obviously, reviewing the nurse's note is key, because if you do click that button, if there are things in the nurse's note, then you can say, by saying this, is that you reviewed them, and that information can be used in your for your information. You can get credit for it. So just again, there's 3 different areas. There's the past medical history, which includes the surgical history. So that's one area. There's past family history, and there's past social history. So just again, for review, you need at least 1 in the past medical the past medical and surgical history, one in the family history. That'd give you a total of 2 for your level 5 chart. And then obviously the other thing is for places that are doing observation medicine or CDUs, you actually need 1 in all 3 areas to be able to bill for observation. So again, this is something we do every day. We get all this information, so we just want to make sure that it's in place. The other 2 things I would touch on is obviously the home medications. This is obviously a program that tries to make your life easier by importing medications. We all know at times what happens though is that it gets propagated and propagated and propagated, and sometimes people don't change what people are on. And so it's something that you should go through and verify every time, this person was on Coumadin and are they on Coumadin anymore, etc. Because it's easy, very easy just to take this information because it pre-populates if they've had a previous visit. But want to ensure, and obviously the nurses should be doing that also, that those medications are still current and active, especially things like antibiotics can be propagated on, but they may have only been on that antibiotic for 5 days. So just to make sure that those are correct. And last but not least, again, at the very bottom is you're unable to obtain, again, just like the other ones, if you're unable to get this information for various reasons, make sure you click that button also to ensure that you're getting credit for things that you deserve in situations where you cannot get that information.